Good morning, and thank you everyone very much for joining us. I'm Michael Green, the CEO at the U.S. Studies Center at the University of Sydney. We have a full program today, but I'm really delighted that for our Acknowledgement of Country, we're going to turn it over to Australian Indigenous didgeridoo player and visual artist Johnny Daylight Lacey and Eric Avery, violinist, vocalist, dancer, and composer from the Nyampa, Yuin, and Gumbagir people of New South Wales.
Hello. Can you hear me? My name's Johnny Daylight Lacey. I'm a Garawa man from the Territory. I'd like to introduce Eric Avery and Gambri, a Yampa man from New South Wales. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Gadigal, the Camaragal, and the Darug people of the Eora Nation, where we're situated today. Like I said, I'm from the Territory. My people are Garawa, which is in the Gulf. I'm a Yiriki player, more commonly known as didgeridoo. And we're here to perform you and welcome you for your today's conference. Enjoy. Mama. Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Isn't that absolutely magical? Thank you so much to Johnny and Eric. We'll get to the program. We're ending the day with Bruce Springsteen, but that's recorded. The boss couldn't make it, I'm afraid. So thank you very much for coming. We have a very distinguished audience. I won't shout out to everyone, but the Secretary of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Jan Adams, is joining us, the U.S. Consul General, Christine Elder, High Commissioners, ambassadors, diplomats, business leaders, University of Sydney colleagues, members of our board, my bosses. Special welcome to you. We have an excellent panel of scholars and business leaders and former senior officials from the U.S., from Australia, Japan. The U.S. Studies Center was established in 2007 at the University of Sydney, primarily to encourage the study of the United States, about which younger Australians knew only limited amounts. And we now have over 2,000 students some years taking our courses. But the center was also established as a think tank to focus on the agenda before the US and Australia. And over time, in a multipolar Asia, we found that that agenda really can't be tackled without other close friends like Japan, like Korea, Britain, NATO, India and the Quad, ASEAN. So we joke that our first name is US and our last name is Center, but we have a very long middle name. That's something like AUKUS, Japan, et cetera, and you'll see some of that today. We want, in all our work, and especially today, to provide analysis and insights, but we really want to focus on getting stuff done, on solutions. I often quote, and apologies to my staff who've heard this a million times, the British Foreign Secretary in the early Reagan years in the 1980s. There was a meeting before a NATO summit of all the foreign ministers in NATO, and they were all whinging about the new Reagan administration, which, among other things, was going to normalize relations with Taiwan, put tactical nuclear weapons in Europe, and there was quite a bit of consternation. And finally, the British Foreign Secretary said to the group, yes, everything you say about the Americans is true, but they're the only Americans we have. So we want to talk about how to get stuff done. A decade after that meeting, NATO, U.S. alliances with Japan, Australia, Korea, helped to win the Cold War and transform Europe. So it's good to focus on what we need to get done, but we should also be realistic about some of the political uncertainty after the U.S. election. There is uncertainty, but there should also be sources of real certainty. In this alliance and in American engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Our polling at the center of the public in the US and Japan and Australia shows that on questions of China strategy, the importance of alliances, how to de-risk economically, how to have a policy that reflects our democratic values, on these kinds of questions, there's remarkable convergence among the American, Australian, and Japanese public. In other polls, you see similar convergence with NATO allies on many of these questions. In Japan and Korea, 90% of the public supports the alliance with the U.S. And in the U.S., in polls, support for alliances in this region are consistently the highest they've been in decades. I will tell you, I was born in Washington, spent most of my career in Washington. I have never seen more bipartisan support for the U.S. alliance with Japan, with Australia, for AUKUS. I've never seen anything like it. There used to be a lot more debate about the value of our alliances. So there are some areas of continuity, but there are also a lot of questions about what comes next with a new administration, which we want to try to get to today. Of course, Australia and Japan didn't get to vote in the US election, I hope. Neither did the Russians, despite their best efforts. But now, as a new administration and a new Congress starts to formulate its policy and its strategy, you can be quite confident that Australia, Japan, and allies will have a seat at the table. It's well recognized that the U.S. cannot tackle some of the problems it's facing in this region in particular without stronger alliances. And that's reflected in polls on a bipartisan basis. So there is a lot to work with, and we'll get to that in today's conference. We'll open with a message from Ambassador Kevin Rudd in Washington. We'll look at what to expect from the new administration, some of the priorities. We'll hear from Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell, who will join us live on screen. We'll look at the Congress. We have an incredibly important agenda that has to work its way through the Congress. We'll look at the security challenges, economic and technology agenda, and we'll end with a panel on how U.S. allies should approach the new administration in the coming months. But to set the stage, we're delighted to have a message from Ambassador Kevin Rudd in Washington. I have a long bio for Kevin, but I doubt anyone in this room needs it. So let me just turn it over to Kevin to help set the stage for our discussions. Ambassador Rudd in Washington.
Greetings to all of you back home in Sydney, Australia, and greetings to you from Washington, D.C., where there's a few things going on at the moment in US politics. Greetings in particular to Michael Green and the team from the US Studies Centre in Sydney, and to all of you who are attending the Sydney International Strategy Forum. Apologies that I'm unable to join you in person. I'm a little bit busy at this time here in the US Capitol, which I understand is the focus of today's timely conference, digesting the US election outcome and what it may mean for Australia. The election of the President of the United States is an important moment for the world. It's important for our region. It's important for Australia. Here at the Embassy, we've been working hard through the course of the last year to ensure that we were well prepared for this moment. And the bottom line is, we're ready. The team here at the Embassy and the Government of Australia are ready to work closely with the new Trump administration to continue to realise the benefits of what is a very strong economic and security partnership. Let me put this moment, this election, in the context of our broader bilateral relationship and the history of the close cooperation between us. In this age of strategic competition, Australia's close relationship with the United States has never been more relevant or more important. Everybody in this room knows the basic facts. Our nations have been allies informally since we joined side by side in the trenches during the Battle of Hamel in 1918. We formalised that alliance during the darkest hours of World War II when John Curtin turned to the United States and President Roosevelt answered the call, leading to the signing of the ANZUS Treaty in 1951. In every decade since then, our relationship has gone from strength to strength, militarily, strategically, economically, technologically, and in terms of the physicality of our trade. These close ties with the US are vital to Australia's economic success. It's our largest economic partner, with the value of two-way goods and services trade between our countries coming in at close to $100 billion. It's also our largest source of foreign investment. This is no accident. Our nations have worked together to ensure our partnership remains strong into the future and continues to build prosperity, avert conflict, and sustain the peace. Together, we're deepening and expanding our defence engagement. This includes our shared pursuit of greater scientific, technological, and industrial cooperation, and our enhanced cooperation under force posture initiatives. Australia-US security arrangements, interoperability, intelligence sharing, and defence industrial cooperation are critical to Australia's national security. But we also recognise and appreciate as do many others, the strong and enduring contribution of the United States to the stability and prosperity of the wider Indo-Pacific region. We know that regional balance is best maintained when we work together in ways that also enhance our combined capabilities. So we welcome the US deepening its engagement with Indo-Pacific partners and allies, and will continue working together to promote peace and security. How do we do that beyond our bilateral relationship? By delivering practical outcomes through the Quad, by deepening our engagement with our ASEAN partners across Southeast Asia, and through enhanced cooperation between the US, Japan and the Philippines. Australia's security and prosperity and that of our regional partners will continue to be bolstered by the strength of those regional partnerships and our alliance with the United States. We remain focused on doing all we can to de-escalate and prevent conflict, combining reassurance and deterrence, and working with our friends and partners openly and transparently, so no potential aggressor thinks the pursuit of conflict is worth the risk. Our history as vital security allies who have stood shoulder to shoulder in every major conflict is the bedrock of our AUKUS partnership, which of course includes our friends in the United Kingdom. The fundamental value of AUKUS for all three partners is that it makes all three countries stronger than we would have been without it. It strengthens all three countries' ability to deter threats, and it grows the defence industrial base and creates jobs in all three countries. So we have appreciated the strong bipartisan support for the Alliance and AUKUS that enables this great venture to move ahead. The United States Congress passed the 2024 National Defence Authorization Act with substantial enabling provisions for AUKUS, including authorising the transfer of Virginia-class subs to Australia. This is a major outcome. And we've delivered significant tangible steps to implement AUKUS Pillar 1, that is, the submarine program. The AUKUS partners are already building the workforce required to deliver Australia's conventionally armed, nuclear-powered submarines. And Australia announced last month that we would establish an allied maintenance facility in Western Australia at HMAS Stirling. What we call AUKUS Pillar 2 is in fact about the creation of a seamless defence industry between the three of us. It's a collaborative arrangement between our three nations in defence, science, technology and innovation, including the most advanced weapon systems which we can now work on conjointly. What Pillar 2 of AUKUS provides us with is a vehicle that's breaking down barriers and improving the broader trilateral trade and innovation ecosystem between our three great democracies. It's enabling us to enact our commitment to the rapid development of capability, and through that we're harnessing agility and flexibility, as well as interoperability and invention. Our shared success relies on collaboration and innovation, and strong relationships across defence, industry and government. And that's what we're seeing in Australia's plans to purchase nuclear-powered submarines from the United States. This will represent large-scale purchases from American industry. That's a significant defence deal. And on top of that, we're already investing into the US submarine industrial base to expand the capacity of their shipyards. Put these things together and it represents a strong positive message for America. One that shows Australia is a valuable and committed friend, ally and partner. Different leaders have come to the same conclusion. Our nations are bonded by the values we share, underpinned by the mutual respect for each other's sovereignty and our respective national interests. American leadership remains indispensable. It is the great builder of alliances and networks, essential for balance in a multipolar region. The Indo-Pacific would not have enjoyed long periods of stability and prosperity without the United States and its security guarantee to the region. America's network of alliances is an unrivalled network with vast reach, and each of these alliances and partnerships is a force multiplier. Generations of American leadership have been instrumental in shaping a world which is more prosperous, more open and more free and more interconnected than our forebears could have imagined. Our alliance is the story of two nations working together to foster global prosperity and stability. Shared values are at the heart of our relationship and our aspirations. We live in a world of many challenges, and we are clear that the region we want, the interests we have, and the values we share require and call for our two nations to work together. And that is what we will continue to do with President Trump and his incoming administration. We here at the Embassy in Washington look forward to contributing to that in the future. All the best for your deliberations at this forum, and I wish each and every one of you the very best.